Hi there. This may seem a little bit funny because this is actually the end of the harvesting of the worms, but I've shot a whole selection of video from day one all the way through, harvesting the 4 different farms. We've got the Blue Barrel Black stackable worm farm and also the 2 black barrels. So I'll leave you to it and have a bit of a look at it, and yeah, it's going to be long, sorry about that, so hope you enjoy. Rightio, I've decided to pull the Blue Barrel out and go through it and collect worms for the new worm farm. One of the problems I had with this barrel was the drainage this time round. I removed the grate at the bottom and just let gravity and a little sieve try and do the job. So what I've ended up with is a very gluggy, smelly, is this correct, Maya?
Yeah.
Smelly pile of horse dung down one end. Not very well eaten, not very well broken down at all. Hardly any worms down this end. So
Worms don't like the smell.
maybe not. So anyway, what happens is you get anaerobic bacteria move in. That's bacteria that live without oxygen, and they can cause all sorts of problems. So that's what makes the smell basically. So that's a washing machine beeping at Maya. Yeah, so I just sort of let you know that, yeah, this is not what you want in your worm farm. So anyway, I'll get back to it. Rightio, so what I've done is I've got a new batch of castings I've dug out of the drum, and what I'm doing is just raking off the top. Sorry if it gets a bit shaky. I have done other worm clips, but I've pretty much all changed my technique after watching a few other different clips on YouTube. All I'm doing now is just raking a little bit off the top at a time. Just rake off a little bit on the top again, because what happens is worms are light sensitive. They're not too keen on the light, and I've actually got the spotlights on at the back of the house here at the moment. So as I rake an area, I pick off any that I can see on the top, put them in the little bucket there, and then move to another area. So rake off a few. There's a couple on the surface here. Sorry for the shoddy camera work. So just have a bit of a dig around, see what I can find. Nothing on the surface. I'll just take a little bit off, give it a bit of a crumble, nothing in there. And then this stuff here that builds up in the corner, I give it another crumble down in here. Excuse the worms cap there, just to see if any worms have escaped my first glance. I'm not too worried about the eggs this time, or the little baby worms. For all I care, they can go and populate in the garden, so the garden gets its fair share of organic matter, so it's not like they're going to starve down there. If I was to do this for the whole barrel, I think you might get a tad bored, so I might press stop, turn the music back on, and keep going. Rightio, so these are the worms. These are what came out of the Blue Barrel. Just to give you some idea of how many we got. These little white things are called springtails. I don't know how well they're coming up. They're actually not that bad pests. They will decompose organic matter further, so they're not that bad. Come up this end where it's a bit brighter, sweetie. Okay, bit of sun coming through there. So this is the amount of worms we got. Just take the top off. Here we go.
Wow.
That's the worms we got
massive clumps
from the
of
Blue farm. So that's the farm that's going to turn into a black soldier fly farm. The worms harvested from the first Black Barrel were actually gifted to a free cycler, so you can find that clip at the top left hand side of the screen. I won't bore you with me mucking through the castings looking for worms for the black worm farm, so let's just skip it and get right to the good stuff at the end. And you can see the different material here actually from the 2 different trays. You can see the greyish, or the dark greyish brown of the bottom tray that was a horse manure, and then the top up tray, which is the coconut coir, which isn't totally eaten. So that, I would have to say there's at least a kilo worth of worms in all of that. So that's the little black farm. You can also see all the little springtails in there as well, little white specks. So I'm very impressed with that. They've done a lot better than I thought. Don't want to disturb them too much. So these guys now will go straight into the bathtub farm. Well, we finished the last of the worm farms, the second black barrel, and I must say they did pretty much all what I thought they were going to do, and that's not a lot. Ate the castings down terrifically. There's a couple of eggs in there, but not many worms, about the same amount as the first barrel. So I really can't complain about the castings. I've left a few here. They've really hoed in to the horse manure, so as far as I'm concerned, they've done their job. But like I may have said earlier, I've done a fair few clips. I found a couple of crusty worms, probably about 12 or 13 large adult crusty worms around the base of these black barrels. So I'm thinking they did the majority of the work, and then a couple of them got a bit sick and tired of horse manure and made the bolt for it. Didn't make it over the dry earth under the pavers or the pavers, and fried. So that's a lesson learned. I think also too with the black barrels, that's these ones here, those ones there, there's just not as much surface area as there is in like one of these farms or the other blue barrel. So when we've put stuff in here, this one here actually got fed with pumpkin scraps. The other one, the first black barrel, had some other scraps go in there as well as pumpkin scraps. Not enough surface area, so the worms, I think that might have something to do with it. They just didn't do as well. The blue barrel, hoed through it. I mowed through that stuff like there was no tomorrow. Great castings, hundreds if not thousands of worms. And this black farm, it just did phenomenally well as well. So the big problem we do have is using kitchen scraps. We end up with a lot of volunteer or feral plants come through. So there we go. So with this last lot, this blue big drum here, I'm keeping that aside to use as a seedling starter. I'll actually take you over now and show you the castings, what we actually got. These guys here, by the way, are going in the bathtub farm, so they've done their job just on horse manure. They can go somewhere that gets other feed. So I'll just show you the other stuff. Rightio, when I moved the camera yesterday, I stopped recording and was sitting out here talking to myself like a wombat. So I've come back down here this morning and I'll just run through what we got from the different barrels. From the big blue barrel, we got a bucket and a half worth. From the first black barrel, the upright barrels, we got 2.5 buckets. We pinched about 1.25 buckets-ish from down the back in the outside worm farm. We then did the big the big black farm, which is a proper worm farm, and we got 2 buckets worth out of that. And then we did the last black upright barrel farm, and we got 2 buckets from that. So about 9.5-ish, 9 1/3 buckets all up roughly. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's a lot cheaper buying horse manure and getting the worms to turn that into castings with some scraps than it is to buy worm castings from a worm grower. So as you can see, I'll just run through and show you some of them. They're all different textures and qualities. Some are nice and light like that one. Some are really tacky and groggy like this one. This is from the bottom of the the black farm, the proper worm farm, so it was a lot more moist. This one here is from the blue barrel farm, I think. Down the back, you can tell by all the extra little bits of vegetation. This one's our first bucket, one of our first buckets from the white farm, from the big blue barrel farm I made. So, and this one here, you can tell by all the bits of coconut from the black worm farm, the top tray. And these guys over here, this is the stuff we're saving to sow seeds in, because all it's had, as you can see, is pumpkin in it. So a couple of pumpkin seeds laying around the top there as well. So pretty sure that one's safe for as a seed raising mix. All the rest, pretty much we're all not going to use them for seed raising, because they're going to have feral or volunteer plants popping up all through them: capsicums, eggplants, tomatoes, cucumbers, rock melons. So as these guys were only fed pumpkins, I'm pretty much all just going to use that as a seed raising mix. I think I can tell a pumpkin when it shoots, and all the other pumpkins will be sown directly into the patch. So overall, I'm really happy with the harvest. That's pretty much all it for the worm harvest for 2012. Yes, I had a shave. So next one will be in August next year. I will be harvesting a few worms here and there if people are after them, but yeah, for the time being I'm going to let them build up. So any comments, questions, suggestions, whatever, comment section below. Yeah, always glad to answer any questions or try and find out info if I don't know it myself. So have a great one and take it easy. Catch ya. Well, do my eyebrows.